I am terribly embarrassed about all of this. This was supposed to be very simple, but you know, if you give food to monkeys, they just throw their shit at each other.
Hey Glitches, Brett here reviewing the sequel to the hugely popular Far Cry 3, Far Cry 4.
Right into the camera.
Ubisoft's Far Cry 4 follows the story of Ajay as he returns to his home country of Kyrat to scatter his deceased mother's ashes.
Don't worry about a thing, my boy. This will soon be behind us, and we'll be off on a grand adventure. Because I have cleared my calendar for you. You and I are gonna tear shit up!
Upon your return, you get thrown into a civil war between the Golden Path and the country's leader, Pagan Min.
Those fucking terrorists, they ruin everything. Like dinner. Did no one ever teach you that it's rude to text at the table?
Within the Golden Path, you have to make a choice about who of its two leaders you will follow, Amita or Sabal. While this adds some replayability, the mission structure itself doesn't really stray too much from the Far Cry 3 formula. You make your way through the beautifully rendered landscape, surviving and honing your skills, taking over towers and outposts, hunting wild animals and exploring hidden locations. Just like Far Cry 3. Don't get me wrong, all this stuff is just as fun to do this time as it was the last time. There are of course some new additions like the arena mode which pits you against waves of enemies. The arena changes things up a bit, being in a smaller area, taking on animals and weapon-toting crazies, and can be overall quite exhilarating. The personality of the story's villain is once again a main focus for the developers, and Pagan definitely comes off as being totally off his nut. My main issue with Pagan is that he comes off as being more cartoonish in his characterization, and feels like less of a threat and more of a try-hard villain. A lot of the interaction with him pretty much consists of him coming over your radio to make sure you remember that this open-world game actually has a villain that you have to deal with at some point.
Help from your diaphragm! Shh. Now we listen.
The story's hero, Ajay, doesn't really fare much better, and while I admit that Far Cry 3's protagonist was a douchebag, he at least had something you could easily relate to, on some level, that being friendship. Ajay, on the other hand, feels more like a hollow hero, whose purpose is to do what he's told by people he doesn't really know, for no real reason. He's pretty much nothing more than a vehicle you, as the player, use to explore the vast country of Kyrat, which has more personality than the person you're playing as. Some of the supporting characters are quite well done, yet you never really get too attached to them, mostly because your own character's development feels non-existent, like you've just been picked up and placed in this world and told to go for it.
Om Nam Shiva, Om Nam Shiva, Om Nam Shiva, Om Nam Shiva.
One thing that definitely isn't non-existent is weapon choices, and the arsenal caters to stealth as well as going in fully loaded and ready to go all out. Upgrading Ajay's skills also gives you a choice between the elephant or the tiger path, once again changing the way you may choose to handle yourself throughout the game. There is no doubt that Far Cry 4 has a wealth of content and many ways to complete missions and wrestle control of Kyrat out of the hands of Pagan and his cronies, all adding to the replayability. Far Cry 4's graphics are a standout, and even if they don't improve greatly over its last offering on PC, on a powerful enough rig, they are nothing short of impressive. The game looks just about as good on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, and it should in no way disappoint those graphic-hungry players out there. With great textures and oftentimes amazing lighting, when this game is patched up and runs smoothly, it really is beautiful to look at.
Hey Amita, I have no idea what I'm supposed to do here.
The multiplayer returns a bit more fleshed out, and improves on the fun that was had in Far Cry 3. It has its own Far Cry-esque versions of classic modes, as well as a map creator which adds to the longevity of the online play. And including it in the mythology of Kyrat adds a little bit more to the overall feel of the game. If you loved Far Cry 3 and don't mind more of the same, then Far Cry 4 is right up your alley. Just don't expect it to bring too much to the Far Cry franchise besides a helicopter ride and riding an elephant. If you aren't a fan of the Far Cry series, then Far Cry 4 will in no way make you change your mind. Far Cry 4 is overall a fun experience, and the open world once again looks amazing. As a fan of Far Cry 3, I was looking forward to more of the same when it came to its sequel, yet that also included the story and character development, not just the hunting and taking over of outposts. Even with a lackluster story, Far Cry 4 is still entertaining with plenty to see and do. I'm giving Far Cry 4 a 7.9 out of 10.
I don't know about